Good day and welcome to the top 5 console games of the Dragon Ball franchise, at least I would say from the modern era. I won't be including mobile consoles because I more meant that in the Nintendo video that I did recently, and also just a full disclaimer that I think personally, this is going to differ a lot between people. But we're going to kick off our list with number 5 being Budokai 2. Dragon Ball Budokai was a game changer for the industry, being a first time ever, I think, that the 3D realization of the Dragon Ball fighting concept had been done so well. Budokai 2 took everything from the first game and ramped it up even more, giving it skill lists, transformations in battle, additional movesets, increased character roster, a better game mode, original game modes, and just a whole bunch of extra content that made it an absolutely thrilling and ultimately amazing time for a lot of players. Kakarot, or DBZ Kakarot, is one of the latest games to have come out. It is a more traditional RPG, very akin to the Dragon Ball Z Legacy of Goku franchise that existed on the Game Boy Advance system. Kakarot is one of those games that I think is just a great homage to the journey that is Dragon Ball through the lens of Goku's experience. It is a fun game that is visually exciting. It does have some caveats. There are certain parts of its combat that can be very tedious, and the leveling and progression system is sometimes very tacked on, considering it proposed itself as a massive RPG. But the way you explore the Dragon Ball world, the side quests, the way the story is presented, and just in general the presentation and appearance of the game is absolutely top notch. Combat can be differing between bosses, but generally, for the most part, was really fun across my 60 hours with the game personally, and I think it is a well worth addition to join in with the others. Speaking of Dragon Ball RPGs, we would be remiss to not mention Xenoverse. Xenoverse 2 was good, but there was something about Xenoverse that really got it right. That combination of making your very own created character for one of the first times I want to mention, outside of the Dragon Ball Eastern RPG online game, you could create your own character, and with a pretty well done self-inserted story, with a little bit of help from heroes, you could actually have a very fun time throughout the Dragon Ball campaign. That new spin on a very well treated story gives it a lot of longevity for me. The combat is the only part of this game that really felt very, very wildly varied. It wasn't a game that could thrive on local LAN co-op like Budokai 2 or the Tenkaichi games, so it relied a lot on its PvE and story, and I think it sold that well enough that it was an incredibly fun experience, again for me across my 40-50 hours, giving it 100% completion. Next is Tenkaichi 3. Tenkaichi was a deviation from the Budokai series in which the game expanded to go from 2D fighter to being, or side-scrolling fighter, to being a arena-based fighting game, and Tenkaichi 3 is the absolute apex of the Tenkaichi series as a whole. The combat is crisp, the roster is large, the transformations and all of the things players love the most about the game are there and about the show, but it's the fully destructible environments, the campaign modes, the what-if campaigns, and just in general the really amazing presentation that brings Tenkaichi 3 to being probably the best version of the Tenkaichi games that you could possibly have, and I think that was something that's incredibly amazing to see. I enjoyed Tenkaichi 3 a ton. It was a really, really awesome game for me, and I personally had an amazing time playing it. The What If campaigns were some of my favorite ones, especially some like What If Zarbon managed to get his hands on the Dragon Balls. If you want to find out that answer, I suggest you find the game. Speaking of beautiful things, let's talk about FighterZ. FighterZ is a fighting game, very akin to Marvel vs. Capcom, or in terms of, just presentation, very, very close to Street Fighter. It functions very similarly as well, but it actually has an incredibly good story that has its own unique original characters to the Dragon Ball realm. And honestly, if we're talking combat and crispness and presentation, I don't think there's been a console game that is better than this one. Yes, there are definitely some difficulties, but FighterZ, I think, is the apex of incredibly well executed Dragon Ball Z style game on top of an actually really well balanced and made fighting game. Those are my top 5 console games. I want to know your opinions and if you agree. It would be awesome to hear what games you loved growing up with. Budokai 3 was actually my favorite, but I thought Budokai 2 was a bit more momentous in terms of changes. Bye.